Is your craft project going to get a little messy? Protect your work surface by using a, get this, oven mat. Oven mats are really durable and they clean easily with a wet paper towel or a wipe. They also come at a very affordable price point, and once you're done, you can just roll them up and set them aside to save space. No palette knife for your artwork? No problem. While palette knives are usually affordable, sometimes you just don't want to deal with the mess of cleaning up afterwards, or perhaps it's a one-off project. Instead, you can use just a plain old gift card or old credit card that you don't use anymore to help spread whatever medium you're using. The straight edge of the card applies nice and evenly, just as a palette knife does. Once you're through, you can either dispose of the card or you can choose to wash it if you're trying to save some money. An easy cleaning solution for after your crafting is done is to just reach for the baby wipes. Baby wipes clean a lot of different mediums and surfaces, and they're really affordable and are highly accessible. Being that they're baby wipes, most brands won't have harsh chemicals. That way you know that your surfaces as well as your hands will be alright using them. For a more affordable masking paper option, I like to use Post-its. My favorite type of Post-it to use for masking paper is the full sticky back Post-its. That means they're sticky, not just at the top, but the whole thing is like a giant sticker. You can draw or stamp on the front part of the Post-it and then either cut it out by hand or die cut it. Either way, this full sticky back Post-it acts as a great mask for your projects. Need to take your yarn work on the go? An easy solution for this is to use plastic baggies. What I do is that I round up all the yarn that I want to take on the go, and then I get little baggies and I snip one corner of the baggie. Then I place the whole ball of yarn within that same plastic baggie and thread the extra string that's hanging off through that hole I cut. That way the yarn doesn't get tangled up with the others and I can access it easily. If you're going to do some paper folding and want a nice clean fold, but you don't have either a scoring board or a bone folder, you try going to the kitchen and using a butter knife. A butter knife paired with a ruler will also make a nice clean score line for you. It may not be as deep as a scoring board, but it will get the job done. If you're a stamper and like to use clear stamps with either acrylic blocks or a stamp positioner, then you know that both of those surfaces can get really inky really fast. So enter in a magic eraser. A magic eraser does wonders for cleaning off all the ink stains on those surfaces. What I like to do is I like to wet the surfaces directly with my little spritzer and then just scrub it off. And you'll see that the magic eraser really takes off stubborn stains. The magic eraser will take off most stains from either dye inks or pigment inks, except if you're using really strong inks such as StazOn ink. When you're doing some die cutting using a manual die cutting machine such as the Big Shot and some metal dies, you know that the negative pieces of your die cut tend to get stuck on the cutting plate. If your cutting plates are well worn like mine are, then you know that the negative pieces of your die cut can really be stuck in there into the little crevices and can be really troublesome to take off. One way to get around this problem is when you're making your die cutting sandwich is to use a dryer sheet on top of your cutting plate. You just fold it over on your cutting plate and then place your cardstock and then place your metal die on top and then run it through the die cutting machine as usual. And then once you pull it off, you'll realize that all the negative pieces of the cardstock from the die cut are stuck within the dryer sheet. And you can pull your die cut up really easily without having to poke out any of the extra pieces. Have you ever tried threading a needle and no matter how many times you twist and turn those little strands, you're finding out that it's taking way longer than it needs to be? Well, then go to the bathroom and get out some hairspray. Spray the end of the thread to get the strands as straight as possible, and then you'll find that it's much easier to thread your needle now. Sewing a button back on can be easy. Keeping it from unraveling can be a little tricky. Once you've trimmed off the excess thread, you can use nail polish to keep the threads in place. Clear nail polish to be exact. When you're blending some ink on your paper project, sponge daubers are really popular to use. A cheaper alternative to these sponge daubers can be found right on your vanity. Makeup sponges can also be used for ink blending. They're not as sturdy as sponge daubers, but if you're in a pinch or you're just on a budget, makeup sponges are a great option. The plus side is that you don't have to throw away the whole sponge once you're done blending. You can just snip off the part that you use and you can use the sponge again. Let's say you're using glitter in your project, and while it's so sparkly to look at, it's also annoying to clean up. Enter in a Swiffer dusting cloth. You can also cut these down to size to help save money. These Swiffer dusting cloths will pick up glitter, embossing powder, and whatever crafty confetti mess you make. Speaking of saving money, if you're going to be doing some watercoloring, you don't need a fancy watercolor board to work with. You can just use a clipboard like I do here. It's cost effective, comes in multiple sizes, and you can take your watercoloring on the go if you need to. Every artist or crafter usually has this everyday object in their workspace. It's painter's tape. Painter's tape can hold your project into place while you're working on it. It can keep your paper from warping. You can also do some masking techniques with it, and it's cost effective. For an easy splatter technique that doesn't ruin the bristles of your paintbrushes, try using a toothbrush. A toothbrush dipped into whatever paint you're using can easily create the same effect of splatter as a paintbrush does. It's fun to use and it's cost effective. Just make sure you don't go back to using it as a regular toothbrush. Which of these craft hacks using everyday objects was your favorite? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks!